Hey guys, it's Dacothetrainer here. How you guys doing? I'm doing pretty awesome, thank you. So you may have seen the title, The Dark Truth of these small print businesses. And I think it's a good idea to actually give some context into this video. I will not be exposing any of these companies. I want to be giving my honest opinion of what I've seen and what I've done over the past year with these companies. I've actually purchased it from a lot of these companies, and I feel like this is going to be my opinion on the good and the bad side of what they do. I just want to be brutally honest, and I want to give my own honest opinion of what I think. I will not be mentioning any company names in this video. I will just be giving a consensus of what I think these companies do well at when they publish these small print run of games. Because there is so much you guys don't really see when it comes to them, and I've done a bit of research into how it works, and I feel like some of the stuff they do is a bit dodgy, and I want to talk about it and how it could be better. These are only small things. Again, I love these businesses, but I just want to expose the truth of what I think. So yeah, let's get into it. So you may be thinking, what is a small print run of a game? It is when a game is published on a small amount of units. For example, you could buy a cake, for example, and if there's only 100 of these cakes, there's a big demand for it. And that's pretty much these games are. These games are normally released digitally, and then these companies approach the developers to actually say, oh yeah, can I put these on physical media? And then they would actually go to the distribution channels, which would either be Sony, Xbox, or Nintendo, and get them licensed and put onto cartridges. And that's pretty much what it is. And then they have the rights to sell these games, and the original developers do actually get a cut of the money that is made, which is fantastic. I think that's a great business model, and I think it's good that the actual creators are actually getting their work actually on a shelf and actually getting seen than just a digital download code, which is fantastic. I think that's a great model, and I'm glad they're doing it. But there is some negatives to this, like I said, and I will be analysing it in this video. So I think it's a good idea to actually start to actually look at the good side of these companies and what they do well. So for a consumer, a big thing is actually you actually own this game now. When you buy a physical game, you own it. But when you buy a game digitally, you don't actually own it. You only own the license to actually play it, and that license can be revoked. We have seen that with Deadpool over the last few years. If you don't know, on Steam, Deadpool did get pulled because they didn't have the distribution rights to put it on their stores. If you own the physical disc, though, you can play it as much as you want. That could not be taken away from you because that is actually burnt to that disc. And it's the same with cartridges, which is definitely a good thing. You actually have the ability to do what you want with a game, which is good. And when that console dies and these servers get taken off, you can still play that game even if you can't download it, because it will still be on the cartridge no matter what. And because of that, you will have the ability to share these games with your friends. So for example, if you all want to play one game, I don't know, like Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and there's only 1,000 units made, but the game is £30 to download, you might as well buy a cartridge, and then you and your friends share it, and it'll save money for you. And I know this might be a bit of a dodgy subject, but you could in fact sell these games if you really wanted to, if you want to make a bit of money, because there's only a finite amount of them, which means they're in high demand, which is fantastic. Another big thing to actually buy these games physically is you will actually own a part of gaming history. You will actually own these games, what not many people will, which is definitely a big thing. Like for example, if you look at the GameCube, for example, those games are selling so well nowadays because people didn't experience them, and now they're getting the chance to do that. These games are the same. Yes, they are available digitally, like I said, but you can still play them whenever you want, even when the console dies, which is a big part of history. Another big thing is the price of these small run games. You may be thinking, oh, it's expensive to pay like £30 for a game which you can get online on their actual online store for £15. But like I said, you actually will own these games in the end. But when you do actually buy the cartridge version or the disc version, they will always retain their value. They will never drop, which is definitely a bonus. Another really interesting topic is the value of these games. You may be paying a premium price for the actual cartridge to start with, but these games will never drop in price. They will always retain their value or increase, which is definitely a big thing for anybody who wants to invest in something. Which, yeah, I know a lot of people don't really want to buy a game just to invest, they want to play it, but this does actually give you an opportunity to sell in the future if you really wanted to, which is definitely an interesting topic, and I know a lot of people do resell their stuff in the future. Here's another good thing, which might be a bit different. So with digital games, often people forget about actually owning them. For example, if you own a Steam account, how many of those games have you never played? And it's the same with like anything you buy on like the Nintendo store or the PlayStation Store, you could buy a game and you could never play it because it doesn't hold value to you. But if you see it on a shelf, it can actually increase people's value. I saw a statistic a few years ago that said only, on average, people own about 150 games on Steam, but people only play 10% of those games. Why is that? Because they don't actually have the physical media. They don't have the enjoyment of putting it in. Yeah, it's a lot of effort and it is a bit harder, but it does make a massive difference. And I like that. You know, I like that you have to go the extra mile to actually play these games. It makes a big difference and it makes it that much more enjoyable putting them in. If you get hacked or you lose your password to PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, one of those three, you will still have the game in hand. You can still play that game no matter what. You will still have access to it. There's no doubt about it, which is fantastic. It is a great opportunity, you know. For example, like I said, when the servers get taken off and you can't play the games anymore, you can't download them, you can still play the actual disc version, the cartridge, you know, you can still play them no matter what. So that actually leads me on to my next argument, the idea of cosmetic benefits. They actually look great on a shelf, you know, you can put these on a shelf, like you can have like all the generations of games and it looks fantastic, you know. There's not many games getting published nowadays on like physical media, so to actually have this opportunity to actually buy this, it looks great, like I said. And because of that, you actually will gain manuals for the game, just like the old days, you know, on the PlayStation 2 when you had the manual, and you can have a quick flick through and read it. No one ever read them, but you know, it does make a massive difference, and it puts a smile on my face. And speaking of that, like a lot of these cartridges you actually do buy, or discs, they do have other things available, like maps, you get little add-ons like soundtracks and stuff. That's a really nice add-on. You know, it's not required, but it does make the game feel a lot more valued and a lot more better for you. So I think it's about time we actually talk about the negatives, because there's quite a few, and I feel like this is where it's going to get into the dark truth of these companies, because I feel like it is very easily overlooked. So let's start with short print runs. If you miss it, it's gone. You cannot get it again, and you will have to pay those resale prices. For example, if you look at Ukulele on the Nintendo Switch, it was a game published by one of these companies, and it sold out pretty fast. I managed to get myself a copy, but on eBay, they are selling pretty high now, and you cannot get these. Like, you can't buy them anywhere else. You can go to Best Buy and they might have a few units, but like a lot of these companies only sell to consumers. They don't sell to other businesses. Which is great. It is good that, but like I said, if you miss it, it's gone. You cannot get that again. Another massive thing for me is the order time. You can order one of these games, and it can take weeks to come, and you hear nothing about it. A few times I bought from these companies, and I just wait, and I totally forget about the game, and then it magically just appears in my mailbox 5 months later. And I can understand they have to pre-order it just to get like the actual money to print it and then send it out, but it's beside the point, you know. I would much rather gain ETAs, like, and understand where my games are. Like, they do give you an estimate, like, oh, it might be here, it might be there, but I just wish it was more, like, every step of the process, like, oh, so we've got all the orders in now, we're moving towards publishing, or we've got the games in hand, we send them out now. But I feel like a lot of these companies aren't that transparent. Some of them are, but some of them aren't. And then when you do buy it, if you live in the UK, like I do, and you're importing from the US, it can take another month to come. Luckily, you do have a dispatch email, and you can understand where that is. But still, it can take weeks. And it's very annoying for that reason. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, like I said. But I just wish the companies were more transparent and told us where they are. Is there any issues? Flag it up with us as soon as these issues occur, so we can prepare ourselves mentally and be like, oh, there's my game. Because like I said, you can easily forget about it. Like I said, I've forgotten about multiple games until I get, like, an email, or I check my mailbox, and it's like, oh, it's here. You know what I mean? Or it's into the UK. And I really don't like that. I just wish we knew where things were more all the time. You know, I really do. And that moves on to the next thing, is when you're importing something into a different country, for example, the US to the UK, or the UK to the US, the amount of cost it costs to actually import a game is massive. And these games can cost anything from like £10 to £15 on the actual store, like the Nintendo store, the PlayStation store, the Xbox store. But when you buy it physically, it is a lot more expensive, and then if you're paying an import charge on top of that, it can be ×2 or even ×3 the original price. And it makes it a lot more expensive than just buying the digital version. Which again, I can understand, like, you have to like print it out, they have to send it out, but the amount of import charges is massive. even on like these small charges. And I know the company hasn't got anything to do with that, but I just wish it was better, you know. I just think it was a bit cheaper, you know. But that's just me. That is just me in general. I just wish things were a bit cheaper and important in these games. I understand the companies need to make money, but I just wish it was a bit cheaper. And that actually leads me on to the cosmetic side of these physical run games. Pretty much the layout and text can be different depending on what region you're in. So for example, if you buy something from the US and import it over such a Switch game, the spine is different. I know it's only small, but that can really annoy me. Another thing is the ESRP rating. Some countries need it, some don't, and that really annoys me. And the last thing is different languages. Yeah, a lot of games have different languages, but you know, what can you really do about it? It happens, you know, and I can understand that as a collector it can be pretty annoying getting like all these different cosmetic changes, but you know, when it comes down to it, you are getting a game which a lot of people don't really have. For me personally, I do think that these small run games are fantastic. It allows me to experience a game which I didn't think I would ever actually play, so I'm always thankful about that. I believe the Switch is a really good platform to actually play these games, and without these businesses, I don't think it would be possible to play any of these games on a cartridge or a disc. But I want you guys to actually leave your comments and your opinions below, because I feel like it's a really interesting topic. I do wish these companies were a lot more transparent, especially with the whole order time, but it can be understandable, you know, they have got a lot on, they are publishing a lot of games at a time. I just wish there was more of a transparency there. I would feel a lot more honest and a lot more thankful if a company was just, oh, here they are. But that's just me. I want your guys' opinion on this because I feel like these companies are doing a lot of good things, but like I said, the community behind this is actually ruining it with the whole reselling. I feel like if you miss something, you're out of luck. Like, or if you haven't got into money, you're out of luck, which is sad, because like, so some of these games you really want to experience. Like, I recently bought Snake Pass from Super Rare Games, and I love that game. And if that didn't get published, I would have never experienced it. So again, I think it's a fantastic opportunity that these companies are offering. I just wish there was more, like, a better community behind it. And I just wish these companies were more honest. But that's me, that's my opinion. I will keep buying from these because I think they're fantastic businesses. And I definitely am excited to see what 2019 holds. But yes, like I said, can you please leave a comment below on what you think about these? Because it's a very interesting topic, it really is. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.